Good evening, everyone. Ooh, let's drop this a little bit. Before I start my testimony today, I just wanted to take an opportunity. Sorry. To say thank you on behalf of the Nkosi family and myself and our family for all your support over the past 2 weeks in the light of Amini's little brother passing away. I thought I could do this. Sorry. Losing our little brother has been quite an emotional, demanding time for us all. And it's been quite challenging for me in this area that I'm sharing in tonight. This is my third time doing my testimony in this church. But I have to be honest and say that this service is definitely the one that I was most nervous for. After the first two testimonies, I was really operating from a place of my mind, really in my head, and really looking at this as a task, as something I just needed to check off my list and really just needed to get done. I remember telling Mandy that I'm going to be operating from my head and not my heart, which I did. Sorry, let me just blow my nose. To my discomfort, the date kept changing, and just extending and making me really uncomfortable because I really just wanted to get it done. But then my little brother passed away about 2 weeks ago, and I knew that it was God challenging me to sit in my discomfort and really just tune into what he was trying to do with me with this experience. So I invited some of my friends to come through so that I could really operate from a place of my heart and not my head. And as Greg said, he was like, even if it's on Christmas Day, I'll come. And he's here, so cool. So please just bear with me. I'm very emotional. This is my testimony. Cool. So, good evening, everyone. For all of those who are scratching their heads and are unsure on who I am, you can relax. I'm going to clarify right off the bat which one of the three blind mice is standing before you today. And yes, guys, there's 3 of us in this church. Although we all wear glasses and they tend to copy my hairstyles, we are not related. And as much as I appreciate the assumption that my fashion sense is remotely as good as theirs, it's not. Sorry, I've got so much snot. Thanks, Vicky. I normally don't cry, so this is very awkward. Okay, cool. My name is not Nomonde Ngobo. Nomonde is a member of staff at St. Martin's. She's your youth director. Nor am I Miranda Dlamini, who some of you might not be too familiar with, but she drives the fancy blue Mini Cooper and works at Steve Pearson. And she drove all the way from Greytown to be here with me today, so thanks, homie. My name is Boniwe, and to help you differentiate between the girls and I, here are a few things to know about me. Contrary to my petite appearance, I'm the oldest of us 3, 27 years young to be exact, not old. Home is in Richards Bay, which is about 2 hours away from here. I grew up in a faith mission apostolic church. I now live in Durban North, just up the road. I currently work for a company in Pinetown where I do sales and marketing. I'm certain, however, that the only reason why I got the job about 2 years ago was so the poor national sales manager could have someone to rattle off in Afrikaans with. And because that's not enough, I'm also a part-time LLB student. I attend the 6 p.m. service at St. Martin's and have been doing so for the past 7 years. I serve on your worship team, youth team, and I'm still in the learning stages on the sound desk when Henk allows me to. But the most important and recent ministry, and the one that wouldn't allow me to get out of standing here today, is that I was elected as one of your alternate church wardens alongside Brad Taurine for this year. When Mandy asked me to give my testimony on my Lifesong, I immediately realized I did not read my T's and C's that came with this position. Not that this is mandatory, but I didn't want to be the only one out of the boys to say no. That being said, I gave my life to the Lord when I was in grade 8, but only got baptized in 2011. I'm sure Mandy didn't know that this would be my first time giving my testimony in any church, because in the church that I grew up in, we didn't really get asked to do stuff like this. And contrary to the fact that I used to be a professional dancer and performer, I really don't enjoy being the center of attention, as you can see. My life song is a quote I read about 4 years ago, which really changed my perspective on the way I see God and my relationship with Him. The quote reads, "Everything about the future is uncertain, but one thing is for sure. God has arranged all our tomorrows. We just have to trust Him today." Cool. I've always had quite an uncomfortable relationship with leadership. Oftentimes it was somebody else thrusting me into a leadership role, and I would only volunteer or say yes simply because no one else was stepping forward. There's one specific event in my life that I want to share with you today that really affected how I saw myself as a leader and magnified how I was not interested in being one. In 2014, I was the mother hen of our all-girls commune. I was in charge of looking after the girls and ensuring that the house ran smoothly. I was the oldest at the time before Knowles came to stay with us. I felt responsible for all the girls, and I really wanted to do a good job of making sure our digs was a home away from home for them, and hopefully take some of the weight off my landlady at the time. On the weekend of the 22nd of August, a friend had extra tickets to the rugby and invited me to go. Nana had just turned 19, and because everyone was away, we couldn't celebrate like we traditionally would as a house. Nana was a real tomboy, and I knew she would enjoy the rugby as an alternative, so the 4 of us girls went out that night to celebrate her birthday. Without getting into too much detail, looking back, there were 3 main decisions that I blame myself for from that night. 1, we were traveling in 2 different cars on our birthday adventures, and I insisted that Knowles and I go in the same car because we were older, leaving Nana and Jody in the other car. I really blame myself for not keeping everybody together. After the rugby, we continued our birthday adventures around Durban, but at about 2 a.m. the next morning, we decided to go up to Belito to watch the sunrise to end off our birthday adventures. The second thing was, I asked the girls, do they all want to go home? And she was the first to say no. The third thing, the car I was in was speeding quite a lot, and I bent over to pray, and I said, God, please protect this car. I blame myself for not covering us all and only thinking of myself at the time. We had just passed the Tongaat toll gate as I watched their car bash 3 times into the truck in front of us. That image is forever ingrained in my memory. After making the worst phone call of my life, fear filled my heart as we waited for her family to arrive at the hospital. I was ready for any and all ridicule to come my way, ready to take responsibility for the things that they needed to attach blame to at the time. But they didn't. Nana's mom walked into that hospital and hugged each and every one of us, and with deep concern, inquired on the medical status of the driver in her daughter's car. Nana's mom asked us what happened and said that we should all relax. She was just glad that we were all safe and that she was trusting God to heal her daughter and the driver of the car Nana was in, who was in ICU at a different hospital at the time. Her only daughter was taken off life support that night. Every time Nana's mom hugged or spoke to me, I felt God's spirit in the most unimaginable way. The way she trusted God's plan wholeheartedly in that situation, she displayed a strength and peace. that cannot be explained rationally. And all I kept thinking, sorry, so much snot. Cool, let's try that again. The way she trusted God's plan wholeheartedly in that situation, she displayed a strength and peace that cannot be explained rationally. And all I kept thinking when I looked at her was, God, is that you? It took me a long time to understand that there was nothing I could have done differently that would have altered the course of the events that completely shattered our lives. To this day, I struggle with leadership. I struggle with taking leadership, as parts of me for a long time felt like I disappointed those girls, and more importantly, I disappointed myself and God. So for a very long time, I would aggressively protect my hidden position whenever I was pushed forward, because I now knew that sometimes as a leader, you have no control over what's going to happen or what God's plan is or will is for somebody else's life. I've learned that God is in every situation, even when we distance ourselves from him, which is what I had done. He was there showing us love and compassion and comfort, and in my case, in the most unlikely of people. I learned that I don't have to punish myself to receive God's love, and I don't need to be Jesus on the cross, because Jesus has already died on the cross for me. I learned that being a leader doesn't mean taking on the blame for everything that goes wrong, and that my opinion of myself at my absolute worst is not necessarily God's opinion of me. Sorry. Jeez. Wow. Okay. I'm almost done. Sorry. I'm never doing this again. So now, in fearful moments, when I'm called to leadership, I try to remember the trust that Nana's mom placed in God at her worst. And the verse that was read today reads, which really helped me. I know it doesn't look like it, but it did. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has compassion on you. I found peace in knowing that he has arranged all my tomorrows, and I hope each of you find the courage to trust him today and simply step out in faith.